Why did George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and at least 14 American presidents decide to become Freemasons? What does this fraternal organization, which has existed for over 300 years, still offer modern men in an era of social media, instant connections, and growing isolation? The answer may lie not in mysterious symbols or conspiracy theories that dominate the internet, but in something far more human: the universal need for belonging, purpose, and genuine community. The history of Freemasonry in the United States is deeply intertwined with the very founding of the American nation. When the first Grand Lodge was established on American soil in Philadelphia in 1730, it brought with it the ideals of European Enlightenment: reason over superstition, freedom over tyranny, fraternity above social divisions. These were not merely abstract philosophical concepts. They were revolutionary principles that resonated deeply among colonists who were beginning to question British rule. George Washington wasn't just a Freemason, he was initiated into the Lodge of Fredericksburg, Virginia, at 20 years of age. Benjamin Franklin served as Provincial Grand Master of Pennsylvania. Paul Revere, the legendary Midnight Rider, was a Freemason. 53 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence had documented connections to Freemasonry. This was no coincidence. Masonic lodges offered rare spaces where men of different social classes, professions, and even religions could meet as equals, debate dangerous ideas about freedom and self-determination, and form the bonds of trust necessary to conspire against an empire. The Masonic values of liberty, equality, and fraternity didn't just influence the American Revolution, they became the philosophical foundations of American democracy itself. The radical idea that all men are created equal, that governments derive their power from the consent of the governed, echoed perfectly the teachings of the lodges, where a lawyer and a blacksmith met not as superior and inferior, but as brothers on the same moral and spiritual journey. During the 19th century and the first half of the 20th century, Freemasonry expanded dramatically throughout the United States. In small towns and large metropolises, Masonic temples became community centers, civic gathering spaces, and symbols of institutional stability. In 1959, American Freemasonry reached its peak, with more than 4 million members. For many men of that generation, especially veterans returning from World War II, the lodge offered structure, camaraderie, and a sense of continuity in a world that had been radically transformed by war. But what motivates a man in 2025 to seek out this organization that many consider outdated or irrelevant? The answer lies less in symbols and rituals, and more in the fundamental human experience that Freemasonry offers. We live in the most connected era in human history, where we can instantly communicate with anyone on the planet. Yet paradoxically, we also live in an era of epidemic loneliness. Recent studies show that American men report having fewer close friends than any previous generation. Social fragmentation, accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic, has left many men feeling isolated, without genuine community, and without spaces where they can develop deep and meaningful friendships. Freemasonry offers something that has become extraordinarily rare: a long-term commitment to real community. It's not a superficial digital connection. It's a group of men who meet regularly, face to face, who know each other by name, who attend each other's funerals, who celebrate achievements and offer support during crises. In a culture obsessed with transactional networking, where every connection is evaluated for its potential for professional advancement, Freemasonry proposes something radically different: fraternity without agenda, friendship without transaction. There is also a growing search for moral and ethical development in a world that often seems to have lost its moral compass. Freemasonry is not a religion and does not offer spiritual salvation, but it provides a philosophical framework for men who wish to become better versions of themselves. Masonic teachings emphasize timeless virtues: honesty, integrity, charity, mutual respect, self-discipline. In an era of moral relativism and widespread cynicism, some men find value in a system that still believes that character matters, that actions have moral consequences, and that it's worth striving to live an ethical life. For many, there is also the element of historical continuity and family legacy. Men whose grandfathers or great-grandfathers were Freemasons feel a profound connection upon discovering Masonic aprons stored in old trunks, upon seeing faded photographs of their ancestors in ceremonial attire. There is something powerful about following in the footsteps of previous generations, about participating in rituals that one's ancestors practiced, about belonging to a tradition that transcends individual experience and connects past, present, and future. The modern journey to becoming a Freemason generally begins with digital curiosity. A man searches Google for how to become a Freemason or watches a documentary on YouTube about the history of Freemasonry. He discovers that, contrary to conspiracy theories, Freemasonry is not a secret society that recruits members for hidden agendas. It's a fraternal organization that operates openly, with official websites, listed phone numbers, and physical addresses in practically every American city. State Grand Lodges maintain informative websites that answer the most common questions. There is no active recruitment. Freemasonry operates under a fundamental principle: you must ask to join. No one can be invited or coerced into becoming a Freemason. This rule has existed for centuries and reflects a core value. Freemasonry wants only men who arrive of their own free will, motivated by genuine desire and not by social pressure or external expectation. Many men make first contact through personal connections. They casually mention to a friend, co-worker, or family member that they're interested and discover that this person is a Freemason or knows someone who is. These initial conversations are generally informal, an opportunity to ask honest questions and receive direct answers. Freemasons don't proselytize, but they're happy to share their personal experiences and explain the joining process. Some lodges organize events open to the public: community dinners, charitable barbecues, open houses where visitors can see the interior of Masonic temples, ask questions, and meet members. These events demystify the organization and allow potential candidates to assess whether Freemasonry resonates with their values and interests. There's no pressure to commit immediately. The decision to apply should be considered, not impulsive. The formal application process varies slightly between jurisdictions, but generally follows a consistent pattern. The candidate fills out a formal petition that must be endorsed by 2 Freemasons who know him and can attest to his character. The lodge then forms an investigation committee, usually composed of 3 members, who meet with the candidate, visit his home, and conduct interviews with people who know him. This process is not intimidating or invasive. It's an opportunity for honest dialogue about mutual expectations. The lodge votes on the candidacy. The voting is secret and must be unanimous or near unanimous, depending on the jurisdiction. If accepted, the candidate goes through 3 initiation ceremonies known as degrees: entered apprentice, fellow craft, and master mason. These ceremonies are formative experiences that use ritual drama, symbolism, and allegory to transmit moral and philosophical lessons. The specific details of these rituals are kept confidential, not because they're dangerous or sinister, but because the experience is more impactful when experienced without prior knowledge. No discussion of Freemasonry is complete without addressing the symbols that fuel endless conspiracy theories. The most famous example is the Eye of Providence, the all-seeing eye inside a radiant triangle, printed on every dollar bill. For conspiracy theorists, this symbol is irrefutable evidence that Freemasonry secretly controls the American government and the global economy. The historical reality is substantially more mundane. The Eye of Providence is indeed a symbol used by Freemasonry, representing divine vigilance and moral consciousness. However, this symbol is not exclusively Masonic. It has roots in medieval and Renaissance Christian iconography, appearing in religious paintings centuries before the founding of modern Freemasonry. When Pierre-Eugène du Cimetière proposed the design for the Great Seal of the United States in 1776, and when the design was finalized in 1782, the intention was to represent divine providence guiding the young American nation. Benjamin Franklin, who was involved in the Seal Committee and was a Freemason, was certainly familiar with the symbol, but there is no documentary evidence that the choice was motivated by Masonic affiliation. The symbol resonated with the Enlightenment deism of the time, which was widely shared by Freemasons and non-Freemasons alike. Conspiracy theories about Freemasonry proliferate on the internet not because substantial evidence exists, but because the organization combines elements that fuel speculation, ancient history, confidential rituals, complex symbolism, and association with powerful figures. It's psychologically more satisfying to believe that complex historical events are orchestrated by a secret cabal than to accept the more chaotic reality that history is shaped by economic, social, cultural forces and thousands of uncoordinated individual decisions. The truth about Masonic secrets is that they are primarily pedagogical. Masonic rituals use secrecy and progressive revelation as teaching tools. Moral lessons have more impact when experienced through ceremonial drama than when simply read in a book. Secrecy creates anticipation, respect, and mental commitment. The secrets that are most zealously guarded are the modes of recognition between Freemasons, specific handshakes, passwords, and signs. These exist not for sinister purposes, but so that Freemasons can identify each other when traveling, a practice that goes back centuries when written credentials were rare and mobility was dangerous. As for the rituals themselves, many elements have been published, described, and even filmed. They do not involve sacrifices, black magic, or oaths of loyalty to hidden political agendas. They are essentially performative morality plays, using symbols of architecture and construction as metaphors for character building. The Freemason is taught to see himself as a rough stone that must be worked and polished until it becomes fit for the construction of the metaphorical temple of human society. Its moral philosophy presented through dramatic allegory. While conspiracy theories dominate the online conversation about Freemasonry, there is a far more important story that rarely receives attention: the massive philanthropic impact of the organization. Shriners' Hospitals for Children, operated by the ancient Arabic order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, an appendant Masonic body, treat children with orthopedic conditions, burns, spinal cord injuries, and cleft lip and palate, regardless of the family's ability to pay. Since its founding in 1922, Shriners' Hospitals have treated more than 1.5 million children, providing world-class medical care completely free of charge. This is a concrete, measurable, and profoundly human legacy. In communities throughout the United States, local Masonic lodges sponsor scholarship programs, organize blood drives, support food banks, provide assistance to veterans and their families, and contribute to countless charitable causes. These activities are not carried out for publicity or public recognition. They reflect the central Masonic teaching that each member has a moral obligation to contribute to the welfare of the broader community. There is a Masonic tradition of supporting public education. Many of the most vocal advocates for free universal education in the 19th and 20th centuries were Freemasons, who believed that a democracy could only function with an educated electorate. This belief was not merely theoretical. Freemasons funded public libraries, supported the construction of schools, and defended legislation that expanded educational access. American Freemasonry faces significant challenges in the 21st century. After reaching its peak of more than 4 million members in 1959, the number has declined steadily. Today, there are approximately 1 million Freemasons in the United States. This decline is not unique to Freemasonry. Practically all American civic and fraternal organizations have experienced similar declines: Rotary, Lions, Elks, Knights of Columbus. Sociologist Robert Putnam documented this phenomenon in his seminal work, Bowling Alone, arguing that Americans have become progressively less engaged in traditional forms of organized community. The reasons are multiple and complex. Demographic changes mean that the generation that drove the post-war boom is aging and passing away. Cultural changes have altered how people socialize and form communities. Increased working hours, longer commutes, and family demands leave less time for regular organizational commitments. The rise of the internet and social media offers alternative, albeit more superficial, forms of social connection. Freemasonry also carries the weight of its own imperfect history. During much of its American existence, most lodges excluded black men, leading to the formation of Prince Hall Freemasonry, a parallel, predominantly African-American Masonic tradition. Although today most jurisdictions mutually recognize Prince Hall Freemasonry as regular and legitimate, and some jurisdictions have fully integrated, this history of racial segregation has left scars. Freemasonry also faces criticism for its exclusion of women, although female Masonic organizations exist, such as the Order of the Eastern Star and the Women's Grand Lodge of Belgium, which some jurisdictions recognize. Confronted with these challenges, contemporary Freemasonry has tried to adapt without compromising its fundamental principles. Many lodges have increased their online presence, creating informative websites, YouTube channels, and social media profiles. There are Masonic podcasts, blogs written by younger Freemasons, and concerted efforts to demystify the organization without eliminating what makes it special. Some lodges experiment with more flexible meeting formats, recognizing that younger men may not be able to attend weekly evening meetings due to family and professional obligations. The fundamental question that Freemasonry faces is not how to attract more members through clever marketing, but how to remain relevant in a world radically different from the one in which it flourished. The answer may lie in returning to the essentials, offering authentic fraternity, genuine moral development, and meaningful opportunities to serve the community. If Freemasonry can do this in ways that resonate with the needs and values of contemporary men, it has something valuable to offer. In a world of accelerated technological change, growing social fragmentation, and moral uncertainty, Freemasonry represents something simultaneously antiquated and urgently necessary. It offers continuity in an era of discontinuity, community in a time of isolation, and tradition in a moment of cultural disorientation. It's not a magic solution to the challenges of modern masculinity or contemporary loneliness, but it is a space where men can gather, not as competitors or business transactions, but as brothers committed to mutual improvement and community service. The question that George Washington answered affirmatively more than 200 years ago remains relevant today. Is it worth dedicating time, energy, and commitment to an organization that promises not wealth or power, but opportunity to develop character, form lasting friendships, and contribute to something greater than the individual self? For some men, especially those who yearn for meaning, belonging, and purpose in a world that often seems to offer only consumption and isolation, the answer is still yes. Freemasonry does not control governments, does not guard cosmic secrets, and does not offer shortcuts to success. What it offers is more modest and perhaps more valuable. A path to living an ethical life, a community of men committed to shared ideals, and the deep satisfaction of contributing to the welfare of others. Ultimately, the decision to become a Freemason is not about unraveling mysteries or accessing hidden power. It's about the conscious choice to participate in a tradition that believes men can and should strive to be better, that community matters, and that there is meaning in preserving timeless values in a world of constant change. If this message resonates with you, the next step is simple. Find a local lodge, make contact, and start a conversation. The door is open, but you must be the one who chooses to walk through it.